GLK is one of Mercedes' newest vehicles, so let's figure out what it is. It's based on the C-Class platform, but as you can see, you'd never know that from the outside. It's got a completely different design than really anything else they make. I'm not even sure they know who its daddy is. It's a two-row compact crossover, as you can see. Very upright lines, super squared off butt. In fact, the rear end ends so fast, you almost think they ran out of money. Let's go to the tech. We've got the full load here, so navigation, this is optional, but realize that it's one of the better looking systems out there, and getting around it is not terribly difficult. It's, I find, pretty intuitive, but it's also a little bit slow for some reason. It's hard drive based. It should respond faster than this. Look how I zoom in here. I can turn the knob, take time to have a smoke, come back, then it's finally done what I asked it to. That's too tedious. But let's go to what's really interesting on this guy in terms of the connectivity and the navigation. Over here on the globe icon, you get to these Mercedes-Benz apps. This is connected services through a 3G radio built into the car, not through your tethered smartphone. Let's check it out. Here's the first thing you got to notice. You're going to see that screen a lot. You're going to hit retirement age watching that screen. I'm constantly wondering what's taking so long. Establishing data connection, why isn't it always connected? While we're waiting, let me tell you the pricing. You get 3 months of this connectivity free with a new or certified used Mercedes that has this ability. Then you've got to pay $20 a month for Embrace 2, which is their smartphone app that lets you locate the car, unlock the doors, things like that. And $14 more a month for these apps that I may show you if this connection ever works. That adds up to a lot of money. They will give a discount, though, of $20 a month if you get both, on top of the $280 a year to have the right to get both. Is that complicated? Yes. Is that expensive? Yes. Is that working? No. Oh, dear God. Oh, my God. No, it's not loaded yet. I mean, just imagine as people get more and more used to 4G on their phones and tablets, and you're going to sit in front of this thing, they got to work on the pipeline. Wait, the screen went black. It's a good sign. It's doing something. By God, it's going to work. Call the folks at Guinness. The records, not the beer. Well, you'll need that too. Okay, here's what you've got. Before it breaks again, let's get through them. Google local search. This is Google search related to navigation. Let's go for some pizza. Here's a list roughly grouped by locations. Here we are, Blondies. I lived on that in college, so I got a soft spot for them. So let's hit that one. And what I'm going to find are several more choices. I can get details on the business. I can say, just take me there. I can call over the Bluetooth hands-free. I can get a Google Street View image. Looks like that. Nice resolution. Or I can go and look at the Panoramio images that users have uploaded from that GPS location. More neighborhood than business. About the only value of Panoramio is if you get real lucky, you might find an inappropriate photo in here or get some really screwy misspellings that you can work with. I mean, Apple's a pretty well-known term these days. You'd think everyone knows how to spell it. Here's the coup de grace, Facebook on the road, because we all need that. Now, when it comes to posting to Facebook from the car, there is a free-form field where you can type in whatever, and there's also a bunch of canned things you can just select. Okay, now for entertainment on this system, you've got AM, FM, HD radio, weather band, Mercedes loves weather, satellite radio, of course. That is a multi-optical disc slot. SD card up here. Music register is a hard drive space, 10 gigabytes, available to rip CDs to. USB storage. You can put a USB stick in here. That is different from media interface, which connects to your iPod. Bluetooth streaming audio as well as hands-free. There's also a pigtail in here for an analog aux jack. That's pretty much everything. Oh, get this. If that connection's not dog slow enough, you can also make it do additional duty as a hotspot in the car by adding a $500 module to the vehicle. Really? Sharing that with a couple of iPads in the back seat? Shoot me. Okay, now under the hood, one choice only, 3.5-liter V6, no turbos, but high-tech direct injection in this car. That's part of how they got a lot more horsepower out of it over last year's model. 34 more horses, up to 302 horse, 273 foot-pounds of torque. Gets this 4,100-pound shoebox up to 60 in about 7.5 seconds while delivering 1925 mpg. Now that's in the standard rear-wheel drive configuration. If you go 4MATIC all-wheel drive, you shave a mere 1 mpg off the highway. Very small sacrifice. Now, efficiency technologies include an alternator that only runs when it needs to charge the battery. It freewheels otherwise, reducing drag. They've also got auto start stop in this guy. That's the eco button there on the console. We'll drive that in a minute. And all of this goes out through a 7-speed automatic. It's your only choice, controlled via that dainty little column shifter on the wheel. First thing I want to do here is come to a stop and see how the start-stop technology works, because you know, I'm not a big fan of it in cars that are luxury vehicles, because start-stop doesn't feel like luxury. It makes a car feel cheap. Let's try it here. I come to a stop, my eco mode's engaged. There goes my engine. Start wasn't bad though. Start was actually fairly quiet and quick. Now you can defeat start-stop by turning off this eco indicator here, but you got to do it every time you start the car. Maybe they'll let the dealer program it so it stays off, like BMW recently allowed. Okay, now in terms of power and drivability, big difference between sport and this E, efficiency mode. Under efficiency mode, this guy hunts 7th gear like there's no tomorrow. Always flat-footed when you need power. I hate that. Sport mode is good, but it's really kind of surgy. It still seeks a very high gear, but it will rev faster and hold the revs longer when you do get into it. That doesn't lead to a terribly responsive experience. It leads to a more powerful one when you finally get it to wake up. Now, in terms of helper technologies, you see we've got these diamonds on the mirrors. Those turn red when you get a car in your blind spot. They flash red if you signal into that car. Same thing goes for lane departure. If you drift across the line without a signal on, this car is going to give you 3 quick little bursts on the steering wheel, little vibration bursts. And again, you can option that to be active to steer you back into the lane you should be in, or at least that it thinks you should. Okay, a GLK350 base is in the high 37,000s, but don't get excited. You're not getting out with one of these for less than 50 grand once you hook it up CNET style. And what irks me about it is some of the packages that have some things you want also bring in things you don't want. For example, Premium one's $3,500, sat radio and iPod, but also panoramic roof and power liftgate. What's the connection? Multimedia, $2,800. That gets you navigation, better voice command, hard drive for music, and the rear camera. Lane tracking is $850, lane departure, blind spot technology. But if you want those technologies to be active, that goes up to $2,950. 4MATIC all-wheel drive's another $2 grand, parking assist is almost another grand, and that Wi-Fi hotspot you're never going to use is $500, so at least there's a savings.